Welcome to the Real Life Artist Podcast. This is the show where we discuss the challenges that come with being an artist, as well as ways you can overcome those challenges through practical applications, shared experiences, and general discussion. My name's Luke. I'm your host. Thank you for tuning in and listening. Much appreciated. Grab your favorite beverage or snack, or if you're in your car, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today we're talking about drawing inspiration. How to get creative inspiration. Where does it come from? What's it mean to be inspired? Etc. So, before we get into things today, I'll be trying things a little bit different for this show. As for the moment, I'll be recording episodes as audio only. For those of you listening on Spotify, other services, there are videos on YouTube, video podcasts, although currently audio is what works best for my schedule. And I can certainly consider going back to video if that's requested enough. So let me know if that's something that's preferred. Anyway, for today's outline, it's based off a YouTube comment from a viewer of the show who writes, "I'd love to hear you talk about ways to get inspiration or ways that have worked for you." End quote. Well, that's a great question. Isn't that the main question for us as artists? How do we get inspired? And what does that mean? I want to share ways that have worked for me as well as ways that I've been told work for others based upon reading, research, word of mouth, etc. So here's our outline. 1, always listen, always take notes. 2, steal like an artist. 3, read books. 4, watch movies. 5, take a trip. 6, take a break. And 7, realize when to move on. So getting started with our first point, always listening and always taking notes. Inspiration doesn't always come to us when we're ready to create, right? This is known as writer's block. So you get in the studio, you're all ready to create finally, you have the time, but nothing is coming out. Well, instead of trying to, summon something up or force it out immediately, my advice is that we always listen, we always take notes. So when you hear or see something that's inspiring to your art, immediately take note of it. Take a picture, use your phone, take a note. But yeah, always carry a notebook or a digital notebook, which could be your phone, tablet, etc. And immediately note what inspires you for your use for future projects or studio sessions. So, when you're in the studio, you can draw upon what you've captured from the outside world. You don't have to force anything up. So that's 1. Always listen, always take notes. 2, steal like an artist. So there's an excellent book literally called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. I'm hoping I'm saying that right, Austin Kleon. Definitely read this book. Really good read. This book discusses how to take ideas from other art and apply it to your own. So one of the methods that Austin discusses is keeping a swipe file. So this could be a photo album or a notebook. Basically things that you're taking from other artists or art that inspires you. This is kind of similar to the previous mentioned point. And build this as a reference for how you want your art to be. So just, you're storing things up. It's a swipe file. You just kind of take things that you like. Another method is to create art like your favorite inspirations. Then realize you'll fall short and create your own style. But the thing is, embrace this. Because this is what makes you, you. It's what makes your art your art. We try to create like our inspirations, we would consider the greats, and ultimately we fall short and make our own style. Embrace that. Also, keep a praise file. When someone leaves a nice comment, keep it. When someone sends you an audio file or like a voice memo showing appreciation for your art, keep it, store it. This reminds you that there are people who love your art and keep creating. Keep creating for them. Go back to that regularly and be like, there are people who really appreciate this. So 2, steal like an artist. 3, read books. It can be difficult to keep pulling information out of ourselves if we're always empty. We've emptied everything out. So to fill up that creative tank again, read books. Fiction or nonfiction, fantasy or true crime, it doesn't really matter. Reading not only keeps you sharp mentally, but books can bring tranquility and give you new perspectives on life that you can bring into your art. So, read books. 4, watch movies. So, similar to reading, watching movies is another great form of filling up your creativity tank. Whether it be the music, the plot, characters, take note of everything that inspires you and use it for your future projects. 5, take a trip. Literally a trip. So this could be a short car ride to a park. It could be a longer ride to another state or area in your country. But here's what I find interesting about trips. There's a lot of things I find interesting about trips. I actually get a lot done while I'm driving to work every day. Use this driving time to get inspired, to get things done. When I'm driving, I don't feel like, this is me personally at least, I don't have so many things to worry about, at least in that short window of time. I don't feel overwhelmed. And so some things you could do is listen to audiobooks, listen to podcasts, record voice memos of song lyrics or melodies as they come into your head, practice singing or doing vocal warm-ups. You'd be surprised how much you can get done while driving. Sometimes that's where I get my best ideas. So, 5, take a road trip. 6, take a break. Working hard is good, yes. It's great. But we need to find time to decompress. This time must be intentional or you will burn out. I recommend at least 1 day a week where you can do nothing. Relax, take a walk, read a book, sleep. Carve out this time intentionally. Always allow yourself to unwind. Working hard is just as important as resting. And finally, 7, realize when to move on. I think this is really hard for us as artists and creatives. But ultimately, here's the thing. There comes a point when some projects are just holding you back. And it's time to move on. Now, this doesn't mean abandon a project forever. It does not necessarily mean you have to abandon a project forever. But maybe for a little while, you set it down so that you can reassess your path. Come back to it later. I get so attached and caught up on my own projects that I found it impossible to put them to rest for even a little while because it felt like I was abandoning my life's work, and that's really hard to do. To feel like you're giving up on something you've given everything to, your heart and soul. But again, this can just be temporary, giving yourself a break. The project is going to develop correctly when it's supposed to. If that time is not right now, then it's okay to pick it up a little later when you're able to create it and develop it correctly. And isn't that what you would want anyway? If this project's going to be created, you want it to be done right, and that might mean moving on to what's next or just coming back to it later. Setting it down, moving on. You can come back, or if you think maybe this is just not a worthwhile endeavor, not even worth your time, you set it down. You explored a path, and now you know that's not the right path to go. So at least you could find that as well. But here are the key takeaways, the conclusion, the summary, if you will. Inspiration can come from a lot of places, but be sure to capture it in the moment so that you have it for later. And I really want to emphasize in the moment, immediately, as soon as you see it. Because if you sort of go about your day, then the next thing distracts you and gets in your way. And it makes sense. Life's busy. So that's why we really have to be attentive to capture it immediately. Also, your art develops over time. It does not need to be forced or shoved into a short session necessarily. Unless you work that good that way, I don't personally. I like to bring things in and just have things ready to go in terms of ideas. But it doesn't have to develop that way. But I think it really helps if you've got an idea of where your art is going to go in terms of direction. Next, we need to rest as much as we need to work. Again, give yourself intentional time off to rest. Just kick back, relax, and enjoy. And then finally, realize some projects can be put on hold and should be so that they can develop properly. Again, if you care about your art, maybe sometimes we just need to give it time to develop properly. And that might mean setting it down for a minute, coming back to it. So, summarizing our outline. So it's always listen, always take notes is point 1. 2, steal like an artist. 3, read books. 4, watch movies. 5, take a trip. 6, take a break. 7, realize when to move on. So that is our content. Thank you so much for listening. I hope today was inspiring for you. I hope this has given you ideas on how to approach creativity on your own work. I think if you follow these, you might get a new perspective. You might get a new way of working on projects that you really enjoy. Always be willing to try new things for sure. So, ways to contact me. Check the show notes if you want. Send a voice memo, send an email, send a comment, question, concern. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a good review as it really helps build credibility and just lets other people find the show so that they also can find this community, get creative help and inspiration, and do their best work as well as you doing your best work. So I'm Luke. This has been Real Life Artist. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.